Trump supporters believe that Donald Trump is playing fourth dimensional chess. It's like when you play chess and you got different levels of the board. Meanwhile, the Democrats foolishly are only playing checkers. My friends, with Donald Trump's latest move, he has entered into a higher state of dimensions that we cannot even comprehend. It is a number that if I were to display on the screen would only look like a twisted 4-inch shape, confusing you because Donald Trump is playing a dimensional level of chess, which is just profound. Progressive Democrats signal support for Trump's direct payment request. Bravo, Donald Trump. For those that aren't aware of what's happening, there is a omnibus spending bill attached to the COVID relief bill, or vice versa, whatever you want to call it. Now, many people are referring to this omnibus spending bill as the COVID relief bill, and Donald Trump did. And the media is saying that's not fair because the omnibus spending is random garbage, and the COVID relief bill is for COVID relief. Okay. No, the whole thing's the COVID relief bill. The COVID relief is the gun to the head during the hostage situation where they're telling you, you want your $600? Well, then we're going to give $10 million to Pakistani gender programs. Shut your mouth and accept it. And people are saying no. Progressives and Trump supporters. And this is where the populist wing really starts to shine. Because if you were to separate establishment elites from populists, you'd find, well, from Bernie Sanders progressives to Donald Trump supporters, they agree on a whole lot, as much as they're typically the ones fighting with each other. The establishment, mostly the Republicans, they don't want to give $2,000 per family. And that's what Donald Trump has called for. In a tweet where he put out a video, he said, I want $2,000. This was last night for each American. And progressives are loving it. But see, Nancy Pelosi also comes out. And she says, let's do this. But here's what I love. Nancy Pelosi, you are a crooked corporate crony politician. Same as Mitch McConnell and many of these other Republicans. Same as all the Democrats. Now, to be fair to the Republicans, I will give them some credit because there was 50, I think the number is 57 or 56 Republicans who voted no on this and only 2 Democrats, Rashida Tlaib and Tulsi Gabbard. Good for them. My respect. There are many more Republicans like Rand Paul, Ted Cruz, Rick Scott, et cetera, and Marsha Blackburn who voted this down. And that was the right move. They voted it down because the COVID bill, the relief bill attached to this omnibus bill is garbage full of nonsensical garbage. Now, the progressives think, and Pelosi thinks, that they're going to just add an amendment to the bill saying give everyone an extra $1,400 on top. No, I'm sorry. Maybe you weren't paying attention to what the president said in his video on Twitter. Donald Trump said, get rid of the bloat and the corruption. He actually goes through a whole bunch of the trash, reading out where this money is going. And I got to say, that's Donald Trump at his best. That is Donald Trump shining to the American people. When he comes out and he says, why are we giving $10 million to Pakistan? No, I'm sorry, $25 million is what he says, $25 million to democracy and gender programs in Pakistan. I have to wonder how many regular Americans are sitting right now looking at their past due mortgage saying, I need to work, and the Democrat governor shut us down. And then they see this video from Trump where he's like, 25 million just went to Pakistani democracy and gender programs. And I have to imagine many regular Americans are going, what? I think it's hilarious. Progressives need to fight harder. The problem is AOC, these progressive Dems, I see them as in line for the most part with Nancy Pelosi. Take a look at what the fight with Jimmy Dore. All right. I've been talking about this a little bit, but you may have seen it. Jimmy Dore is, I guess you call him a progressive, but he's very populist. He's a good dude. And he was saying the progressives need to pressure Pelosi to vote on Medicare for all. They won't do it. Even Cenk Uygur, who's not in politics, was like, no, it's not the right time. We can't do this. And then you have AOC saying, we don't have the votes. We can't do this. No political willpower. At least there's some political willpower from Republicans. Now these Trump Republicans who are getting in, this new wave, this new batch of Trump supporting Republicans, the 15 or so plus who are going to object to the electoral college vote on the 6th, these people have spines. These are the people who are like, I'm going to object to the electoral college vote. Do something. What are the progressives doing? Agreeing with Nancy Pelosi. Okay, They're saying right now they're going to put out their amendment that's going to increase $600 relief to the American people to $2,000. Let me just say one thing before we read this story. Why is it that when the Democrats come out with a bill, Trump or the Republicans negotiate on Democrat terms? Why doesn't Trump say this? We should have $2,000 to the American people, no bloat, which is basically what he's saying, and then reopen the economies. That should be included in the stimulus. We can't just keep mass printing money. It makes no sense. But I get it, man. Right now, what we're being told is that, we're facing serious economic collapse. People are already behind on average like $6,000 in rent and mortgage payments. The bill is going to include a moratorium on evictions, but we are just being driven further and further into communism. Think about it. If you're a landlord, the left says you don't have a job. Landlord isn't a job. Well, that's not true. There's a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of administrative work. There's repair. There's a lot that goes into being a landlord. Now, of course, you can always hire out management companies. So in a sense, landlord, I wouldn't consider to be a full-time job. It certainly does require some work, but that's not really important, the argument about it. What's important is if people don't pay rent for a year, the landlords can't pay their mortgages. And then what happens? Well, in New York, they're saying they're going to start buying up a lot of these empty buildings at dirt discount prices. Interesting. And then they're going to convert it into housing. Interesting. So the government of New York destroyed the economy, seemingly against the science, against the wishes of the people. And now that the property value is worthless, they're buying it up. My friends, this is martial law. This is a violation, in my opinion, of the Third Amendment. People don't often talk about the Third Amendment. You can't quarter soldiers in your house. Okay, that's not what they're doing in New York, but you get the point. The government is using unconstitutional and downright illegal activities to destroy property value, to seize property from private individuals. Bravo. And you know what? They're going to get away with it because I'm sitting here watching everything they're doing. The progressives saying, Trump, okay, we'll increase the spending. But did you hear what else Trump said? Cut out the garbage. They won't do it. We got this story here from the Daily Mail. They say Donald Trump appeared to suggest he would veto the $900 billion relief package. I'm sorry. I got to stop you guys. Trump appeared to suggest he would veto the $2.3 trillion omnibus spending package, which includes the relief package, unless they tripled from $600 to $2,000. For the American people. In a video address posted to his Twitter page, Trump said it had taken forever to get the bill passed and called the outline terms a disgrace. Send me a suitable bill or else the next administration will have to deliver a COVID relief package and maybe that administration will be me and we will get it done. Maybe that will be. You know what? I have to wonder about all this. I mean, look, I don't think AOC is perfect. I think there's some things that, you can give her credit for, but I think she's far from perfect. I think, she challenged big tech surveillance and stuff. I appreciate it, and I always give respect where respect is deserved. But she doesn't go far enough in what the American people want. But Trump has found widespread support. I shouldn't say that he's being supported necessarily, but that he's found that path. I know a lot of people, and I was mentioning this the other night on the IRL podcast, who are just like, I want more than $600. I don't know or care about deficit spending and the printing of money and inflation and, debt to GDP or anything like that. And they just want the cash. Well, Trump supporters believe in Trump. Trump supporters don't like government bloat. And I'll put it this way. If you took $900 billion divided by 330 million Americans, you get about $2,700. That includes babies. Okay. That includes babies. That means if you are a family and you've got 3 kids, you're going to get $2,700 times 5 in your family. So, one for you, your spouse, your kids. Now, I don't like the idea of mass printing money. I don't like the idea of government lockdown, but let's put it this way. The problem I have with the mass printing of money is that you are essentially devaluing the wages, the labor, the savings of individuals. You are borrowing against their assets to give money to other countries, for foreign programs like gender studies in Pakistan, and for major corporations. Why are you leveraging my savings, my wages, my earnings for other interests in massive corporations who don't need it? It makes no sense. But what if instead of this $900 billion relief package was direct payments, $2,772 or whatever dollars. What if that went to the individuals? As much as I still don't like the idea of just mass printing money, if you're borrowing against your own buying power, you're not losing anything. It's just allowing you to essentially buy some stuff now, pay your rent now so you don't have your life destroyed. It will, in the long run, devalue your wages and labor and things like that, but you are getting the money yourself. Now, ultimately, it would have a net negative impact on higher earners and, taxpayers, people who pay a lot more money. Still, a direct payment to the people, which is leveraging their own personal value, is much better than giving it to a bunch of major corporations. That, I think, is acceptable, probably to many Trump supporters. Don't give it to anybody else. Probably not the ideal circumstance, but it's also extremely acceptable to the progressives, in which case Trump has actually got progressives cheering him on and regular people saying, Trump trying to give me $2,000. Let's do it. Pelosi embraced the call, saying, let's do it. In a tweet responding to the video, House Speaker Pelosi appeared to call the president's bluff. Republicans repeatedly refused to say what amount the president wanted for direct checks. At last, the president has agreed to $2,000. Democrats are ready to bring this to the floor this week by unanimous consent. Let's do it, she wrote. $2,000. That ain't nothing, I'll tell you that. Now, here's the funny thing. You know who really loses out in all of this? It's not just the Republicans. I mean, they really are on the short end of the stick on this one. But it's the entire establishment. What happens when Trump puts out another video saying, I told them to get me a clean bill to send $2,000 to the American people and they give me bloat? No one's going to support that. Well, progressives will support it. Donald Trump can just keep increasing the number and that'll keep the progressives happy. But if he doesn't cut out the corruption and the bloat, then Trump supporters and conservatives will not be happy. Now, here's what I love. Lindsey Graham tweeted, the COVID-19 package, while imperfect, will save jobs and lives. The sooner the bill becomes law, the better. It will allow millions of businesses to avoid bankruptcy, deliver vaccines even faster, help those unemployed, and provide money for families who are struggling. Lindsey Graham, you swamp monster. The omnibus spending package has more money for trash than it does for the American people. I think it's like $200 billion would go to the American people out of $2.3 trillion. These people are spineless, corrupt, they're crooked. That includes Lindsey Graham and Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell and all of them. I like the Trump Republicans because they fight for what they believe in and they fight for the people. And I have some respect for the progressive left in the sense that they're at least not the establishment. And some of them have actually done some good things. Notably right now, Rashida Tlaib, my respects, I've been very critical of her, but this is the right thing to vote against this bill. It was the right move. Graham says, appreciate the fact that Speaker Pelosi supports President Donald Trump's idea to increase direct payments to $2,000 per person. The American people are hurting and deserve relief. I know there is much bipartisan support for this idea. Let's go further. What does that mean? Let's go further. More than 2,000? Well, like Rand Paul said, why not 20,000? Why not universal basic income? I'll tell you this. I like the idea of UBI. I like the idea. I like the idea of Medicare for all. Can we build the system to implement something that's sustainable and works? I'm not so sure about that. That's the challenge. We don't want to fall into these utopian pipe dreams of just like give everybody money and deficit spend forever, because progressives have actually suggested let's just deficit spend forever because it won't matter. Yeah, well, it'll matter to those trying to retire, I guess. Suppose it's fine if you dump all your money in some ridiculous, stock scheme or something and you can find a way to ride the train up. But I love that Lindsey Graham, he wants to go further. Why? Because the bill is full of garbage, and this is their chance to extract more from the American people to send that money to the wealthy elites. Oh, Trump said 2,000. Oh, we better triple the bill across the board. Just amend every number to go up. Nah, that's not what Trump is saying. Donald Trump says Republicans in the Senate so quickly forget right now they would be down 8 seats without my backing them the last election. Rhino John Thune, Mitch's boy, should just let it play out. South Dakota doesn't like weakness. He will be primaried in 2022. Political career over. Trump is turning on the Republicans, but it's because many of these establishment crony Republicans turned on him. I like to see the new wave of populist Republican politicians who are coming in, those who are willing to stand up and fight for what they believe in. So Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez tweets this. Let's do it. Rashida Tlaib and I already co-wrote the COVID amendment for $2,000 checks, so it's ready to go. Glad to see the president is willing to support our legislation. We can pass $2,000 checks this week if the Senate GOP agrees to stand down. Hold your horses there, Ms. Ocasio-Cortez. In this, her proposed legislation reads, in section 6428A of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986, as proposed to be inserted by section 272 of subtitle B of Title II of Division N of the matter proposed to be inserted by the Rules Committee print. 1. In subsection A1, strike $600, $1,200 in the case of eligible individuals filing joint return, and insert $2,000 and $4,000 in the case of eligible individuals filing a joint return. And 2. In subsection G, strike $600 each place it appears and insert $2,000 and strike $1,200 and insert $4,000. Okay. The problem with that is just a simple 2-paragraph amendment that will not get rid of the insane psychotic trash that Trump was calling out. In his statement, Trump said, the bill contains $85.5 million for assistance to Cambodia, $134 million to Burma, $1.3 billion for Egypt and the Egyptian military, which will go out and buy almost exclusively Russian military equipment, $25 million for democracy and gender programs in Pakistan, $505 million to Belize, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, and Panama, $40 million for the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., which is not even open for business, $1 billion for the Smithsonian, an additional $154 million for the National Gallery of Art. Likewise, these facilities are essentially not open. I'll tell you what we should do. We got all this money. What is that? We got $505 million to Belize. Okay. Let's choose 500 random Americans. Give them $1 million. I'd rather do that than give the money to Belize. I actually am in favor of foreign assistance and foreign aid. And many people have been critical of this, saying America should be paying the bills. I'm against the waste of the money on the war. And I think we got to get clean our own room before we start changing the world. Maybe fix the pipes in Flint with some of this money. Assuming it's not been done, I guess. Right now, as we are struggling, I would much rather see Americans get this money than what, I'll tell you what, $1.3 billion for Egypt. Billion. We can take 1,300 Americans and give them all $1 million. How about that? Why don't we just do that? Wouldn't that be great? One day you wake up, it's like, congratulations, you're the person. And then everybody's on TV and they're like, what are we going to do with this money? And there'll be deep, serious pressure for them to donate and assist people and pay medical bills and help others out, not just keep the money for themselves. But I don't care. I don't care if we gave $1 billion to one random guy, one random lady. We find a family that's struggling to pay their bills. Congratulations, you're billionaires. Now with stipulations. You don't just give large sums of money to people. They don't know how to manage it. But you give it to them like a breakdown. In a way where it's like they get a certain amount of money over time. That would be infinitely better than giving it to Belize. I'll tell you this. I'd rather all of this money, the $2.3 trillion, go out as numerous paychecks over the year. We could have done $1,000 a month for 9 months. Why not something like that? Just about. Now, I want to throw things over to my good old friend, Rand Paul. I'm kidding. I don't actually know the guy, but I like Rand Paul. He says, I just spent all year writing a Festivus waste report, and he just tweeted it out. This is a Plansome journalist who tweeted about Trump, and he was like, I've been working all year on this story, and then Trump just tweets it out. Yeah, welcome to the Trump era. I'm not convinced the Democrats and the Republicans will actually agree to come together on any of this stuff. I don't think so. But you can clearly see with Trump's statement, he represents the American people. And it's a shame people voted for Biden in their ignorance. Trump's got a lot of problems and he's a lot of things. But the one thing he is not is a crony corporate elite. The left and the Democrats will tell you that that's not true. Trump doesn't want U.S. dollars that we earn and we pay taxes on to go to gender programs in Pakistan. Even if you're an intersectional, woke leftist, I have to imagine you're wondering why you don't get $10 million to create your gender programs here. I'll tell you what, let's compromise. I actually would be fine. I'll put it this way. I don't care for the gender programs. I don't exactly know what the specifics are, but I would still rather see the $10 million in gender programs here in the United States. You know why? That money would go into our economy. I guess some conservatives would probably disagree because they're like, we don't want it at all. Let somebody else have the gender programs. And they'd prefer to see the money leave as opposed to, seeing gender programs here in the U.S. But I'd rather all of this money at a time of crisis when people need cash, be invested in the American people, American small businesses, and that's not what's happening. And although the progressives are coming out and they're saying we agree with Trump, are they really going to get rid of the crap that's all throughout this bill? I do not think so. My friends, I would like to bring you to what I love so much about Twitter. This is what I tweeted. Jen Perlman, a progressive candidate, was running against Debbie Wasserman Schultz, tweeted, "Wouldn't it be great if Trump just decided to executive order Medicare for all before he leaves?" I actually think that would be a really, really smart move. So I saw that and I was thinking about it. 4D chess. Trump signs executive order mandating Medicare for all. Trump supporters cheer because Trump did it. Biden has to rescind the order immediately because his corporate donors revolt. Democrats defend Biden because orange man bad. Progressives defend Trump. This is not a serious tweet. What did I responded? I responded to the tweet saying, like, my favorite people on Twitter are the ones who take everything literally and seriously all the time. My friends, without you, none of this would be possible. The tweet is meant to be nonsensical on purpose. No, Trump supporters wouldn't blindly be cheering because Trump did it. That's part of the joke. Many of them would. And no, not all Democrats would defend Biden because they hate Trump. That's just part of the joke. It's a silly and ridiculous tweet that will never happen, but it would be hilarious, trolling everybody at the same time. Yeah. Well, we're not going to get that because, people on Twitter don't know how to use Google. Journalists don't know how to use Google. And it's a really, really interesting thing. I'm going to get off topic a little bit, but, in the general conversation of helping out the American people, I want to show you just one more tweet that, for those that have made it this far, you will enjoy. We have this tweet, a series of tweets, and it starts with Jack Posobiec, well-known Trump supporter and conservative, tweeted, "What if instead of a vaccine, we just were able to get exposed to a weak version of the virus that enabled us to build the antibodies we need to fight the real thing?" This is one of the most brilliant tweets I have ever seen. Jack Posobiec. I am not kidding. Brilliant. Let me explain. Most of you right now are probably laughing, going, but that's what vaccines are. Vaccines are weakened versions of the virus, and they inject it into you so you can build the antibodies. Jack is so dumb. I see two things. The people on the left, like this guy, Dave Jorgensen from the Washington Post, who tweeted, "The anti-vaxxers went so far right, they looped around and invented vaccines." The funny thing is, the tweet from Jack Posobiec is a copy and paste from a tweet he did earlier where they all said the same thing. And Jack has crafted a brilliant tweet. I bring this up in the context of my tweet and the problem with getting anything done. And it's that, did you know that the current COVID vaccine does not use a weakened version of the virus or germ or bacteria or anything like that? It's an mRNA virus. It's an mRNA vaccine. So take a look at what this Washington Post guy says. "It's real and he's serious. It reminds me of those flat earthers accidentally proving the earth is round. I can't imagine cognitive dissonance. To those who believe he was joking, I'm glad we agree vaccinations are effective." Is Jack Posobiec anti-vax? I don't think he is. Here's the best part. The COVID vaccine is an mRNA vaccine. And so I responded to this guy, this image that says, "mRNA vaccines are a new type. To trigger an immune response, many vaccines put a weakened or inactive germ into our bodies, not mRNA vaccines. Instead, they teach our cells how to make a protein or even just a piece of a protein to trigger an immune response in our bodies." Jack Posobiec was perfectly trolling because what he says is, in the context of COVID, an interesting point. How about instead of the mRNA vaccine and reprogramming our cells, you just do a traditional vaccine? And these leftists who don't know how to use Google and don't know how to use, I shouldn't call them leftists. They're crony establishment Washington Post types. They don't know how to actually Google search. So let me tell you, you know what I did? When I saw this tweet from Jack, first thing I assumed was he was joking and trolling people because Jack is not stupid. It's quite successful, actually. The next thing I did was I said, is there something missing from this context? Well, I know that the vaccine is called an mRNA vaccine. So how about I Google search what mRNA means? And then I discovered, yes, this new vaccine does not use weakened viruses. Anyway, I just want to tack that onto the end of this to make a point about how our journalist and media people do not actually do any research. Now, of course, they're trying to deflect, saying, no, come on, Jack's dumb. These people are insane. And they're the ones trying to tell us how the world works. That's scary. Y'all need to step up. I mean, start doing journalism, start a blog. I don't know, do something, man. I don't know. But we'll see how the Democrats and the Republicans move forward with Trump's call for $2,000. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I will see you all then.